A big old temple sat on a mountain, high above the busy city below. Fog and time had hidden it for many years. Stone stairs curved up through tall pine trees, leading to a quiet and special place. This place was not just any place. It was where great masters and legends of martial arts once lived and trained. Now, it was quiet again. But something big was about to happen. Red flags waved softly in the morning wind. Each flag had a different picture on it, showing a different school of fighting. There was Wing Chun, Hung Gar, Mantis, and Shaolin. These were all famous styles of Kung Fu. A meeting like this hadn't happened in a long time. It wasn't a show or a contest. There were no cameras, no news reporters, and no cheering crowds. It was just the people who truly loved and respected the art of martial arts. Here, fame didn't matter. Only respect and tradition did. A man named Jason walked through the big temple gates all alone. He had no friends or team with him. He didn't ask for anyone to clap or cheer. He just had a simple bag over his shoulder, wore an old black shirt, and had a quiet look on his face. A look that showed he knew exactly why he came. At first, no one knew who he was. A few people nodded politely. Some whispered when they heard his name. But many of the younger fighters only knew famous fighters from online videos. They didn't understand what it meant to be truly respected without trying hard to show off. Jason didn't talk much. He found a bench in the back, sat down, and watched. Inside the big hall, soft yellow light shone on mats laid on the floor. Old masters, men and women who had once trained and fought on those mats, sat around the edges. Across from them, young students showed their skills. They moved with focus and care, showing the forms they had practiced. During the second group of performances, someone new walked in. His name was Liang. He was very famous. He was the national Wu champion and known for being very fast and strong. He moved like fire, bright, beautiful, but very hot and dangerous. As soon as he entered, the room felt different. Everyone looked at him. He bowed to the old masters. Then he looked straight at Jason, sitting in the back. "Ah," Liang said loudly so everyone could hear. "The movie man is here." Some of the students laughed. Jason didn't say anything. He just sat quietly. Liang walked to the middle of the mat and spoke to everyone. "Today, we show real martial arts," he said. "Not movie tricks, not fake punches, real moves." Some of the old masters didn't look happy. The head monk said nothing. Then Liang looked at Jason, not by pointing, but just by looking, and said, "I wonder if our guest will show us something from his movie training." Jason stood up slowly. He didn't look angry. He wasn't trying to prove anything. He just moved calmly, adjusted his bag, and stepped forward. "I came to watch," he said, his voice calm and steady. "Not to prove." Liang smiled, but it wasn't a kind smile. "I understand," he said. "Movies don't need proof." Jason nodded. "But pain does." The room went silent. Everyone waited. But Jason just walked back to his seat. He didn't look embarrassed. He didn't try to explain. He just sat quietly. Liang finished his show with a burst of very fast moves. He moved so quickly, it was hard to see him clearly. The crowd clapped loudly. But one old master near the front didn't clap. He looked at Jason quietly. Then he leaned over and whispered to the monk beside him. "That man trained here a long time ago." The monk raised an eyebrow. "With who?" The old man whispered back. "Master Ren." Later that evening, Jason stood alone in the garden. The air smelled like trees and incense. He looked at the tall trees around the temple. Long ago, those same trees had been there when he was just a young boy training. Back then, he was just a kid who wanted to learn. He didn't have a big name. He didn't care about fame. A quiet voice spoke behind him. "You shouldn't have come." Jason turned around. It was one of the elders. He wore white robes, held a cane, and had eyes that looked deep, like mirrors. "I didn't come to fight," Jason said. "No," the elder replied. "But you will have to." Jason nodded. He knew it was true. Somewhere else in the temple, Liang was watching videos of his performance on his phone. He was with two other fighters. They laughed as they watched the moment he teased Jason. "Look at his face," Liang said. "No strength, no presence. Just acting. One of the other fighters said. He used to be serious. They say he trained under Master Ren. Liang laughed. If that's true, he forgot everything. But deep inside, Liang didn't laugh for long. Because the way Jason had looked at him didn't match any look he had seen before. That night, the elders had a quiet meeting. They talked about whether a real challenge should happen. The head monk spoke last. He will not ask to fight, he said, because he has nothing to gain. Then should we stop it? Someone asked. The monk looked at the moonlight shining on the stone floor. No, because the boy has everything to learn. Have you ever seen someone get teased but stay calm? Because they were strong enough not to get angry? That's what Jason did. Long before the movies, long before he was famous, Jason had stood in the misty mountains, holding a strong stance for hours until his legs went numb. That wasn't something he learned in acting school. That was something he learned from Master Ren. The next morning, after Liang's teasing, Jason woke up early and left the temple on foot. He didn't tell anyone where he was going. He didn't need to. He remembered the way. After a long walk, he found an old path. It was covered in vines. The training post, once used so often, still leaned a little to the side. Just like he remembered. He walked through a broken gate and found Master Ren's old school. Nature had started to take it back, but the place still had its spirit. Jason put down his bag, took off his shoes, and stepped onto the stone floor. For the next hour, he moved in silence. He wasn't showing off. He was remembering. His hands moved through the hung gar forms Master Ren had once taught him. His legs moved through mantis steps he had failed so many times long ago. Nobody was watching. Nobody clapped. But Jason didn't need them to. He was here to remember who he really was. And something deep inside him started to wake up again. Not just his body, but his heart. Back at the temple, Liang trained hard too. He hit the pads fast, kicked hard, and tried to be perfect. But his face didn't look calm. It looked nervous. Like he knew something big was coming. One of his friends asked, "Are you ready?" Liang didn't answer. Because he wasn't sure. Later that night, Jason came back to the temple. He was sweaty, calm, and carried only his small bag. But there was something new in the way he stood. He looked stronger. Like he belonged there. Liang saw him and felt something strange. A little fear. This wasn't a washed-up movie star. This was someone real. That night, Jason stood near the fire. One of the oldest masters came up to him. "You still move like water," the elder said. Jason nodded. "You still carry your teacher's lessons." Jason didn't speak for a while. Then he said quietly, "I left for the wrong reasons." The elder smiled. "And now you've come back for the right ones." Jason looked at the firelight dancing on his hands. "I didn't come for honor," he said. "I came because someone forgot what it looks like." Liang stood at the edge of the hall, watching Jason. For the first time, he didn't feel like the best. And that made him feel small and quiet inside. They said it was just a demonstration. But no one believed that. The whole room buzzed with quiet excitement. Jason stood at one end of the mat. Liang at the other. No judge. No time. Just two people. The head monk raised his hand. "Begin." Silence fell. Liang attacked first. A fast kick, then a big spinning kick meant a scare. But Jason didn't block. He didn't hit back. He just moved a little, ducked, and slid out of the way. The match had begun. But it was more than a match. It was a lesson. Jason's lesson. A story of quiet strength. Jason jumped. He moved fast, but he stayed calm. He didn't look scared. He didn't even fight back. Everyone was watching. One of the old teachers whispered, "He hasn't thrown a single punch." Another old teacher answered, "He doesn't need to. He's breaking the rhythm." The boy named Y was trying hard to win. He was fast and strong. He hit with his elbow, and then his fist. Jason didn't hit back. He caught Y's elbow and used Y's own speed to make him fall off balance. Y stumbled a little. He wasn't hurt, just surprised. He took a deep breath and stood straight again. He was angry now. Jason didn't move. The people watching began to whisper, No one had seen someone fight like this before. Y rushed at Jason again. This time, he used all his power. He stepped forward and tried a punch, a kick, and another fast kick to Jason's side. Jason moved like water. He slid to the side, grabbed the back of Y's shirt, and turned him around. Time seemed to stop. Y's feet lose balance. Jason could have hit him. He could have won right there. But he didn't. He let go. Y turned around, his face red. His fists were tight. Jason lowered his hands. He was inviting Y to come again. That made me really mad. Something inside him broke. He charged. He threw 3 big punches with all his power. Jason moved close, stopped the first punch, and gently placed 2 fingers on Y's shoulder. Just 2 fingers. But the way Jason touched him, Y dropped to one knee. The room went quiet. Jason didn't hurt him. He didn't show off. He just showed that he was better by staying calm. Jason stepped back. Why did I get up so late? He didn't look at the people watching. He didn't talk. He bowed. And when he did, the whole room clapped. Not because Jason was stronger, but because Jason was kind. Jason bowed too, then walked away from the mat. He didn't smile. He didn't cheer. Because for Jason, this wasn't about winning. It was about teaching. It was a lesson. A long time ago, a wise master told Jason, "The greatest move is the one you don't have to use." Outside the hall, the moon was bright over the mountains. Jason stood alone near the pine trees. Sweat cooled on his neck. A man named Elias Crane had once said something similar after a mission. The scariest person in the room is the one who keeps his hands in his pockets. Now Jason finally understood. It wasn't just about being strong. It was about timing, grace, and patience. Back inside, Y was still on the edge of the mat. Some students came and patted him on the back, but he didn't move. He stared at the spot where Jason had stood, not because he was ashamed, but because he was starting to understand. Have you ever seen someone win, not by fighting hard, but by being calm and smart? That night, I couldn't sleep. The clapping had stopped. The lights were off. But in his head, he kept seeing that moment over and over. Not the kicks, not the punches, but the way Jason stayed calm and quiet. Jason didn't try to embarrass Y. He showed him something more powerful. What could have been if he didn't let his anger win? The temple was quiet after midnight, but Y was still on the training mat. He was alone, barefoot, practicing. His hands moved fast. His feet cut the air. But it felt wrong. Something was missing. He wasn't practicing to get better. He was practicing to forget. He was trying to forget how Jason placed 2 fingers on his shoulder and made him kneel. In another room, a young student sat beside Elias Crane. Was Jason always like this? The student asked. Elias took a deep breath. No. Then how? Elias looked out toward the pine trees. Pain, he finally said. Pain taught him patience. He didn't learn to be calm from being happy. He earned it. Jason left before the sun came up. He didn't wait for applause. He didn't take the monk's offer to come back next year. He left one note on the elder council's bench. It was folded. No name. Just one line. LA's shadow lives on, not through style but through restraint. Y found the note later. He stood there reading it again and again. Then he turned to the monk beside him. Where did he go? The monk smiled. He didn't say. Y's hands tightened. I need to find him. Later that day, the head monk spoke to the students. Y stood in the back, quiet. The monk said, "There are 2 kinds of strength. The kind that hits and the kind that chooses not to." He looked straight at Y and continued, "Those who learn the second kind become strong inside. Those who never learn it burn themselves out." No one looked at Y. They didn't need to. He already understood. That night, Y walked back to the forest trail. He followed the path Jason had taken. He walked for hours until he found the old school of Master Ren. He stepped through the gate. The stone mat was wet with morning dew. Leaves whispered in the wind. In the middle stood Jason. He was moving slowly, practicing. His black shirt was soaked with sweat. Why didn't I say anything? He stepped forward, took off his shoes, and bowed deeply. Not as a student, not as a fighter, but as someone who now understood. Jason didn't turn. He just said, "Why are you here? Why did I look up?" "To start over," he said. Jason nodded. He reached out a hand. For the next hour, they trained side by side. No words, no noise, just quiet moves under the sky. 6 months passed. At the mountain school, things had changed. The air felt clearer. Y led the morning classes now. Not because he was the fastest, not because he was the strongest, but because something about the way he stood made everyone listen. He hadn't lost his strength, but he had gained something more powerful. Stillness. A new group of students came for the fall. One boy, only 15, was loud and curious. He asked too many questions. He tried to show off in the first hour. During a break, he pointed and asked an older student, "Who's the best here?" The older student pointed across the room at Y. Y was kneeling, eyes closed, breathing slowly. The boy laughed. "Him? He doesn't look like he's ready for a real fight." The older student smiled. Neither did the man who trained him. That night the boy asked, "Is it true? Did you train with Jason Statham?" Y opened one eye. "I did." The boy shuffled awkwardly. "Like in the movies?" Y walked to a small wooden box. He opened it. Inside was a folded black shirt. No logos. He placed it beside a letter in a frame. The letter said, "LA's shadow lives on, not through style but through restraint." The boy read it twice. Was he really that good? He asked. Y smiled. Good? No. He looked out the window. He was disciplined. That's what made him special. Later that week, during drills, the boy messed up again. He tried a spin move he hadn't learned yet. Y walked over. He gently fixed the boy's feet, moved his hips. The boy looked down. "I thought I had it. Why didn't I get mad?" Even wild moves can look good, until they're tested. The boy nodded. And this time, he listened. Jason never came back to the school. He didn't need to. His name was no longer passed around like a story. It was passed down like a whisper. In every breath. In every pause. Every time someone chose to wait instead of fight. One day, the head monk asked Y to guide a visitor to the old school. The man was American. Bald, strong shoulders, quiet steps. He didn't say who sent him. He just said, "I want to see where Jason trained." Y took him there. They didn't talk much. When they arrived, the man looked around and said, "He said it wasn't the moves that changed him. It was the trees." Y nodded. They still are. Back at the school, the boy trained again. This time, he held his pose longer. He breathed slower. And when he moved, it looked clean. Not perfect, but real. Y watch. He didn't step in. He didn't say anything. He just stood still, like someone had done for him once. Final scene. A single candle glowed in the dark hall. On the wall were 3 things. The black shirt, in a glass case. The letter that said, "Discipline, not dominance." A nameplate that read, "Legacy." Jason was no longer just a fighter. He was remembered as someone who didn't need to fight to win. Real strength isn't loud. Real strength is how we act when no one's watching. If you like this story, tell me in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe for more fun adventures and mysteries. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.